So hello everyone, we are here with the topic which is in the newspaper today, which that is as COP28 is going to happen in the coming days. So this article is talking about what should be the India's demand, and it is also talking about comparing developed and developing countries' contribution and who should do what, whose responsibilities are more, and who has contributed more in that, in the emissions, etc. So we are going to delve into that. Before that, we should know that why we are discussing this article is because it is very evident that climate change is happening, right? As per the very recent report, it said that the target in the Paris Agreement, which is 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Celsius at pre-industrial levels, this is the target which we'll breach if we will not fulfill our targets. Actually, not just the targets, we have to do more than the targets. Only then we can keep our temperature up to this. But if we do not, then we are definitely going to breach the targets, right? So that's why it is showing that how climate change is further aggravating the problems, and various, as it is evident from various extreme phenomena happening these days, like wildfires, very frequent wildfires you must have heard about in Europe and Australia, etc., at other places as well. Then cyclones, rampant cyclones, severe cyclones. It is very evident in India, like on the eastern coast and now also on the western coast, as we can see from the news that west coast is increasingly becoming prone to cyclones, right? And other phenomena as well, droughts, etc., right? Erratic rainfall, these all are what? Because of climate change. So that's why we are discussing this article. So in this article, what it is saying is that just wait. Yes. So it is, as I said, it is saying that the relatively low emissions in developing countries, as per UNFCCC, its global emissions are low. And this convention talks about common but differentiated responsibilities principle, common but differentiated responsibility and respective capabilities principle. So this principle is what you can cite in your answers as well, and prelims ke liye you can go into the details of this, that what it is. So here also it says that it means different states having different responsibilities and respective capabilities to tackle climate change. So here is one, here is two. These are two states. These states might not be having, like, for example, this is the least developed country and this is developing country. So this must have more responsibilities because they have emitted more and they have more capabilities as well to deal with the challenge. While they have not even emitted, their contributions are very less, and they do not also have finance and capability to deal with that problem, and hence the responsibilities should differ. So this is what this principle says. So yes, this principle has also been reaffirmed in Paris Agreement, right? Then it is saying that as per IPCC 6th assessment report, जो CO2 emissions हैं, they are increasing the temperature at this rate, that is 1000 billion ton CO2 emission, resulting in 0.45 degrees Celsius of temperature rise. So this is what it has found, which is definitely a sign of climate change. Then it talks about global carbon budget. Global carbon budget is what? It is maximum cumulative global anthropogenic CO2 emissions from pre-industrial era to which such emissions reach net zero. Okay, resulting in limiting global warming to a given level with a given probability. So the main carbon budget indicates that the remaining carbon budget जो रहता है, in simple terms, is if we say carbon budget is what? So carbon budget is, if we want to limit our temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius, then we have to emit a certain amount of CO2, right? Only certain amount of CO2 should be emitted to keep temperature rise to this. So this is called as carbon budget. So globally, if we look at this phenomenon globally, then that becomes global carbon budget, right? So as per the recent study, that is of IPCC 6, the assessment report, it says that we have depleted our carbon budget to up to 4/5. 4/5 is what we have depleted, and only 1/5 is left for our use. So what does it mean? That for example, this is whole 100 which we had, and up to 4/5 we have used. We only have this much left, right? So these are the only emissions which we can use up to this only. After that, if we do more emissions than that, then temperature will also be increasing. So this is what it is saying as per this report. So next is it is also saying that for that not to happen, that for us to keep our targets and reach that 1.5, keep the temperature to 1.5, countries should reduce their targets to of net zero to like US should reduce from 2050 to 2025, and other countries different timelines have been recommended. So it is the suggestion given by the article. So who's responsible for cumulative global carbon emissions? Now it is talking about that. So this is developed versus developing countries. It is saying that developing countries have been contributing more. They have contributed more since now, till now, and if they have also shown some data to represent that. That is South Asia's contribution जो रहा है emissions में almost 4% रहा है only, ठीक है? जबकि वो जो शेयर ऑफ पॉपुलेशन है उनका दैट इज़ 24%. एंड ऑल्सो पर कैपिटा कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, फॉसिल फ्यूल एंड इंडस्ट्री एमिशंस जो रहे हैं उनके वो 1.7 रहे हैं ओनली, जबकि आप देखोगे अमेरिका के 15.4 एंड ग्लोबल एवरेज रहा है 6.6. तो दिस इज़ शोइंग डेवलप्ड वर्सेस डेवलपिंग का डिफरेंस, राइट? इफ़ यू कैन रिमेंबर दिस डेटा यू कैन कोट एंड इट विल डेफिनेटली help you get more marks. So this is that. Then what it is talking about is इंडिया के लिए कैसे मैटर करता है वो ये बात कर रहे हैं. सो इंडिया मस्ट रिकॉग्नाइज अ फेयर शेयर ऑफ कार्बन बजट एज अ स्ट्रेटेजिक नेशनल रिसोर्स who resolves the depleting rapidly due to over exploitation by developed countries. तो इंडिया के पास भी एक फेयर शेयर होना चाहिए कार्बन बजट का. India is a developing country, and as we have seen, developed countries are taking advantage. So India must recognize that fair share of carbon budget, because this carbon budget is definitely a national resource. Okay, and this has been overexploited by developed countries. So if we fail to deploy resources at our command to forcefully use it as a strategic national resource, we will be shortchanged by new colonial techniques of developed countries. This is what the article is saying. Next, it is saying that our share in the share of energy, share of oil, coal, and gas in the energy is still high, and non-renewable or to say renewable energy is still contributing very less, and the majority portion is contributed by non-renewable energy still. So then it is saying that Glasgow में जो issue उठाया गया था phasing down the use of coal at this. So developing countries, they were forcing even developed countries to phase down the coal, but it is problematic for developing countries to do, because even if you remember, India refrained from this this particular, I would say, India did not adhere to this target, and it very clearly said that we are not going to phase down, because the reason is because developing countries are in the stage of development right now. Okay, while developed countries have already taken the advantage, and they have developed, they have emitted whatever they wanted to emit, and they have definitely emitted much more than us, if as per the data as well. So when it is our time to grow, our room to grow, why it is not allowed us to take advantage, to do whatever we can for our development, since development involves a lot of emissions, and hence the debates are there. So यही चीज़ है. It is our time to develop and definitely we should. So it is then talking about what should be India's stance at COP28. So here it is saying that we should be very clearly see that so here in this whole thing it is comparing party. Okay, just wait. Party development. Okay, so it is saying that India has a lot of poors, and if we see recently the announcement of Prime Minister of India to further extend this scheme of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana for 5 years for 80 crore people in the country who are sleeping hungry. He does not want them to sleep hungry, and hence he has announced this. So it is seen that since India has a lot of poverty, we have to develop. It is our, it is a need to develop to that level that we do not have this much population who has to be, supported with such type of initiatives. So we have to develop. But here is a contrast between climate change and development. We develop, we will emit, and it will increase the events which will lead to climate change and more emissions, right? So it is talking about that only, that it is the case, but we have to develop because we have to deal with this thing as well, and then we can come up to this. Though we are also focusing on this, but it is not that we will contribute equally as the developed countries are contributing to reduce climate change, because it is they who have contributed more, so it is their responsibility to take more efforts, not ours. Okay, so it is what it is saying. Then it is saying here that developed countries have to take more mitigation efforts. Yes, and developing countries should take their fair and equitable share in the carbon budget. Then it is discussing about some international efforts, Indian efforts at international level to tackle climate change, like this: International Solar Alliance, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, Biofuel Alliance, ये भी G20 में ही हमने अडॉप्ट किया है. Then Life Mission. So these are some of the things. Then it is also saying that developing countries के पास जो finance है, technology है, वो less है developing के पास, right? While developed के पास this is more, and developing countries also have contributed more, so they have to and they should take more efforts, do more to tackle climate change. It is also saying that developing countries they took a pledge to provide $100 billion at COP15 2009 to developing countries to tackle climate change, while they have not adhered to this pledge, and they have still not provided this amount, and the article is saying that they should do that as soon as possible. It has been their failure, so they have not even done that, not doing this, not even taking more efforts. So how it is not going to be balanced then. So this is about this whole article. So then it is at last saying that developed countries have had a free pass, and it is time for India to take on them, right? Definite. So yes, this is all what it is saying. Here is a small summary of this article. Then we can also see, you can relate it on this topic of climate change with your fundamental duties, where we have a duty to protect our environment. You can cite it in your answers whenever you get opportunity. Directly, these are not the topics which will be asked directly. You will be asked something on climate change, and there you have an angle of developed versus developing, that is north versus south, you can say. Also you can talk about that how developing countries are still taking efforts, what efforts they have taken at national level, international level. So there's a very good article giving holistic insight but majorly talking about developed versus developing. And yes, so this is the whole article. You can also use sometimes these things in your essay as well whenever you get the opportunity to add such dimension. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for today.